Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first installment of Honeycomb Digital Investments new show, Chain of Events, featuring news, current events, and the latest headlines around what is happening in the digital asset space. My name is Baxter Hines, Chief Investment Officer of Honeycomb Digital Investments, and today is Wednesday, February 24th, 2020. Thanks so much for joining in. This has been a very, very hot market in the crypto space. We're seeing Bitcoin, Ethereum, a lot of the other coins hitting all-time highs in the last few weeks. And we've seen somewhat of a pullback, though, in the last few days, which is natural in these kinds of markets. And people always ask me, they say, Baxter, what is going on here? Should I buy now? Should I take advantage of the pullback? And what I constantly say is, look, I don't know where the price is going to be tomorrow. I don't know where it's going to be next week. I don't even want to really take a stab at where things are going in the next month. But I do strongly believe that more and more money is going to flow into this space. Assets like Bitcoin are fixed in terms of their supply. There can only be 21 million Bitcoins ever created per the algorithms that the blockchain protocol is based upon. And so you've got this fixed supply asset with increasing demand as infrastructure is being built around digital assets, making them easier to hold in a legally compliant way, as more people are getting comfortable putting money into work, and where you're seeing financial advisors starting to talk with their clients, or even in some cases, you're seeing reverse demand come in where clients are coming to the financial advisor, asking them how do they get involved. We are now seeing more and more demand, and with fixed supply combined with that increased demand, that translates usually into higher prices. So I say, look, over the 1 year time horizon, it's my idea or by prediction that if I had to say where I thought prices were going, I think they're going higher. But what I wanted to do today is to really look at some risks that people aren't talking about in this space, because I think that's the prudent way to look at any asset class, and especially an emerging one like cryptocurrency and digital assets. So there's a lot of excitement. It's easy to get caught up in all of that, but you do want to be prudent and look at what could go wrong. And so I want to discuss really three things that could happen that could change the sentiment around this space and could change some of the fundamentals. I think, again, long-term, things are very bright for blockchain and for distributed ledger technology, but all the focus is really on Bitcoin and Ethereum, and to a lesser extent, some other coins. But let's focus on those two today, Bitcoin and Ethereum, because that's where most people have curiosity. So starting off with what could go wrong, point number one. Just like any market, you have to have liquidity in order to have a properly functioning pricing mechanism. And unless you are really focused on what's going on and really gotten into the weeds of what's going on in the crypto space, you probably don't know about something called Tether. Now, what is Tether? Tether is a cryptocurrency that is designed such that the price of Tether is always $1. It's basically a US dollar on the digital rails. And when Tether was designed, it was very innovative. What was put together was a collection of banks who would take dollars from investors. They would then give those investors subsequent Tether coins equal in number to the number of dollars that they had deposited. So if you gave Bank ABC, let's say they were a participant, $25, they would give you 25 Tethers. And then what would end up happening is, as that Tether was passed from one person on the blockchain to another, if one person who held those Tethers decided, hey, I want my dollars back, they could go back to one of the affiliated banks within the network and receive $25 back. So the price, because of that redemption mechanism, should always stay at $1. What has been fascinating to watch is the growth in the number of Tethers that are out there in the market. It first started out in about 2014, 2015, somewhere in there. And it was a very small amount of money. But as people started to get more accustomed to it, it became a much bigger cryptocurrency for people to trade. The assets in Tether just mushroomed. And we have seen an inflection point in terms of the number of Tethers out there, especially after the outbreak of COVID-19. And so that in and of itself is very bullish for digital payments, but also that money tends to find its way into the cryptocurrency market for traditional ones that people are familiar with, such as Ethereum and Bitcoin. And there have been universities who have done studies that show that the more money goes into Tether and some of these other cryptocurrencies that are designed to mimic the price of a dollar or a euro or the other major currencies in the world, more money goes into those tethers and the like, the higher the cryptocurrency market goes for Bitcoin and other cryptos. So there is a danger now with that market because several years ago, Tether changed some of its policies. They used to say, look, if where you were able at one point to redeem these cryptos for dollars, our tethers for dollars, now you can't. And so that really put a question mark around, could Tether be trusted as a cryptocurrency? It no longer had this auditable reserve of dollars backing up these tethers that were out there in the marketplace. And so today, what is really triggering people to question whether or not Tether is available at face value, or should be taken at face value, I should say, is that the New York regulators are saying you need to show your audited financial statements. Tether can't do that. That is going to cause a huge panic in the marketplace. And the cash that's going around in the markets for Bitcoin and Ethereums, et cetera, right now it's Tether. And if those tethers value are questioned, because again, you don't have that redemption feature, and then there may not be reserves backing it up, that is going to probably cause a major pullback in the price of Bitcoin and Ethereum and other cryptocurrencies. So that is definitely something to watch. We will have to see how that unfolds, but that's definitely something people should be looking at. It's definitely something here at Honeycomb Digital Investments that we are looking at. The second thing that I want to point out is around mining capabilities. Bitcoin, you've probably heard the term mining before. That is the way that transactions are put onto the blockchain. So if there's a peer-to-peer transaction where Alan sends money to Betty through Bitcoin, the different computers that work within the Bitcoin network, they have to validate that transaction. And they are compensated for that through the process known as mining. Now, one of the problems with mining today is that most of that capacity, or where the computers and the computer power is housed, is really in one location. Not all of it is there, but a vast or good share of it is in China. And there is rumor, I'm not saying that it would definitely happen, but people are scared that potentially the mining power could be in some way influenced by the Chinese government or some entity in China to make the validating of the network get thrown off, and that and be maliciously influenced in some way, which would undermine the integrity of Bitcoin. We're also seeing in other kinds of cryptocurrency markets, take Ethereum, that the price that these miners are charging to consummate these transactions that are being placed on the network is really going through the roof. The Ethereum gas price, as they call it, gas prices is what people are charged for making a cryptocurrency transaction, is really going through the roof. Not only is the price in Ethereum going up, but the price of Ethereum itself has been going really parabolic this last year. And so the cost of these transactions is just really at nosebleed kinds of levels, to the point where people are starting to think, why are we even dealing in Ethereum if the price to transact is so expensive? Well, there are a couple theories behind that. The first is that more and more transactions are taking place on the Ethereum network, so that's a good sign. Also, there are proposed improvements to the Ethereum network. There's some standards that should be going into effect later this year that would make it more efficient and make it so that the fees for these transactions would be curtailed. You're also seeing where the governing bodies behind Ethereum are starting to roll out what's called Ethereum 2.0. That would, in essence, make it so that the Ethereum would be, again, more efficient and easier to run. So in the short term, people are willing to pay these higher prices and continue to hold on to Ethereum, thinking that it is the next generation asset, and they want to hold on to it with the idea that the price will continue to go higher. But what I would say in summation with these problems with mining is it is an issue people have to think about. And it is something that could potentially drive people to newer coins. You have to remember that Bitcoin came out in 2009 and Ethereum came out just a few years later. I did a speech at a university the other day, and I said, to the students, look, right now, none of you are older, or Bitcoin is not older than any of you, but I'm not going to be able to say that much longer. Bitcoin is an older technology, as is Ethereum, and there are new types of platforms that are coming out that are going to compete with these platforms. And so that there's this potential that from a substitution effect where people say, look, let's go with the newer blockchain technology or distributed ledger technology and gravitate away from Ethereum or Bitcoin. That's a risk. Very much like in the days of the internet when America Online or Prodigy, or if you remember some of the other dial-up internet services, they were the king at the time. And the news networks were declaring platforms like America Online. They said that company had conquered cyberspace. Well, we look back on that and laugh today because very few people use dial-up internet anymore. They've moved to broadband and fiber optic types of technology. The same could be true one day of Bitcoin and Ethereum. The newer, better, faster, cheaper technology could come along and usurp its dominant position in the marketplace. So that's something people are thinking about. And the third risk that I would say kind of piggybacks on top of this, and that is that, again, technology never stands still. It's always getting better. People are always trying to invent a new mousetrap, so to speak. And blockchain and distributed ledger technology are certainly not immune to that. Within the computing world, one of the technologies that is very much being explored by some of the brightest and best minds out there is quantum computing. The easiest way that I could describe quantum computing to you is that it is magnitudes faster and more efficient. It has more capabilities than the computers that we use today. Not to use a violent type of analogy, but it is sort of like someone coming with a knife or a sword to a battle against people that were armed with machine guns. It's just not. There is no competition between the types of computers we use today and the quantum computers that are being developed by some of the biggest companies in the world today, such as Google, Honeywell, IBM. Not to mention you have government actors that are military types of bodies that are looking at this technology. And so it's being developed, and it would be a threat to these older technologies, again, like Bitcoin and Ethereum, and could make them, and the encryption mechanisms that keep them secure, make them obsolete. On the brighter side, for distributed ledger technology and for blockchain, the newer types of chains have been designed to prevent having the quantum computing make them obsolete. So again, there's this substitution effect that could take place that no one is really talking about that I wanted to bring up today. Here at Honeycomb Digital Investments, we continue to always do our research on what's unfolding in the digital asset space, and we will continue to do that and share that with you in upcoming episodes or through conversations with our clients. Thank you so much for joining us today. Have a great day.